pen felt heavier than it should have. 23 pages of legal documents spread across the mahogany table, and all I had to do was sign my name on the dotted lines. Tessa Willis, former wife, future... What exactly? Take your time, my lawyer said, adjusting his glasses. This is a big moment. Big moment, right. The biggest moment of my life was supposed to be my wedding day 5 years ago. Instead, it turned out to be the beginning of the longest, most soul-crushing chapter I'd ever lived through. I'm ready, I said, gripping the pen. My name is Tessa, and today I'm signing myself back to life. The first signature went on page 3, dissolution of marriage. Check. Jerome had fought me on everything, the house, the car, even the coffee maker we got as a wedding gift. But his lawyer knew what mine knew. Emotional abuse leaves marks that don't show up in photographs, but they show up in bank statements, therapy bills, and the way a woman flinches when someone raises their voice. Page 7. Asset division. Check. The settlement amount is final, my lawyer confirmed. $150,000. It should hit your account within 3 business days. I nodded, trying to keep my face neutral. $150,000? It wasn't just money, it was validation. Proof that what I'd endured had value, that my pain had worth, that the years I'd spent walking on eggshells and apologizing for existing meant something tangible. Page 12. Spousal support waived. Check. I didn't want his monthly payments. I wanted clean. I wanted gone. I wanted to never have to see his name on another document for the rest of my life. You sure about waiving the alimony? My lawyer asked. With his income, you could be looking at... I'm sure. The words came out sharper than I intended. I don't want anything from him except out. Page 18, custody arrangements not applicable. Check. That one stung differently. We'd tried for kids early in the marriage, back when I still believed his promises about changing, about being better, about loving me the way I deserved. The miscarriage in year 2 had broken something in both of us, but where I grieved, Jerome blamed. Where I sought comfort, he found fault. You're too stressed, he'd said after the doctor delivered the news. Maybe if you weren't so high-strung all the time. Even our loss became my failure. Page 23, final signature. I wrote my name with deliberate care, each letter a small act of rebellion. Tessa Willis, not Tessa Matthews. Never again Tessa Matthews. Congratulations, my lawyer said, gathering the papers. You're officially divorced. I walked out of that office feeling like I was floating. The October air hit my face, crisp and clean, and for the first time in years I could breathe without measuring each inhale. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa, my best friend since college, and the only person who'd stuck around through the worst of it. How'd it go? Drinks tonight to celebrate. I typed back quickly. It's done. And yes, definitely drinks. 3 days later, I was sitting in my tiny studio apartment, the only place I could afford after Jerome kept the house, refreshing my banking app like a teenager waiting for exam results. The page loaded. Available balance $47.23. I refreshed again. Same number. My hands started shaking. I called the bank, navigating through automated menus with growing panic. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I show a wire transfer of $149,700 processed yesterday morning. The receiving account is registered to Meredith Willis. The phone slipped from my hand. Meredith Willis, my mother. I called her immediately, my heart hammering against my ribs. Oh, Tessa, sweetie. Her voice was bright, cheerful, completely unbothered. I was wondering when you'd notice. Mom, what did you do? I helped Riley, of course. The wedding is in 6 weeks, and you know how expensive these things are. She needed the money more than you did. Riley, my younger sister, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. That was my divorce settlement, my money. Honey, what were you going to do with it anyway? Waste it on therapy? Buy yourself some sad little apartment. This way, it's going towards something beautiful, something meaningful. Riley's wedding is going to be perfect. The line went quiet except for my ragged breathing. Besides, she continued, her voice dropping to that familiar tone of casual cruelty, what were you planning to do? Find someone new? Start over? Sweetheart, let's be realistic here. You don't deserve love, not after what you put Jerome through. The call ended. I sat there in the silence of my studio apartment, staring at my phone screen, and felt something shift inside me. Something cold and sharp and absolutely certain. They'd taken my money, my fresh start, my validation, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated exactly how much I'd learned about revenge during 5 years of marriage to a master manipulator. I drove to my mother's house the next morning, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. The Colonial sat pristine behind its manicured lawn, every shrub perfectly trimmed, every flower bed colour coordinated. Image was everything to Meredith, always had been. Riley's car was in the driveway. Of course it was. I rang the doorbell instead of using my key. I wasn't family anymore. I was a creditor. Tessa? Riley opened the door with a bright smile, like she hadn't just stolen my entire future. Mum said you might stop by. Come in, come in. I was just showing her my dress options. She looked radiant. 29 years old, blonde highlights fresh from the salon, engagement ring catching the morning light. Everything I used to be before Jerome ground me down to nothing. Where's Mum? Kitchen. She's making her famous scones for the wedding tasting later. Riley grabbed my arm. Oh, you have to see the venue photos. It's going to be absolutely magical. She dragged me through the house I'd grown up in, past family photos where I appeared less and less frequently over the years, until I was basically edited out entirely. The kitchen smelled like vanilla and butter. Meredith stood at the counter, wearing her favourite apron, the one that said "World's Best Mom" that Riley had given her last Mother's Day. Tessa, sweetheart, she didn't look up from her mixing bowl. I was hoping you'd come by. We need to talk about your attitude yesterday. My attitude? The way you spoke to me on the phone, very disrespectful. She finally turned around, flour dusting her hands. I raised you better than that. Riley perched on a bar stool, scrolling through her phone. Mum, show her the cake design. It's going to be 4 tiers with real gold leaf. Riley, that's beautiful, Meredith cooed. You deserve nothing but the best. I stood there watching them, these 2 women who shared my DNA but felt like strangers. I want my money back. The kitchen went quiet except for the timer ticking on the oven. Excuse me? Meredith's voice went ice cold. $150,000. My divorce settlement. I want it back. Riley looked up from her phone for the first time. Tessa, don't be dramatic. It's just money. Just money? I laughed, but there was no humour in it. That money was supposed to help me rebuild my life, get therapy, find a decent place to live, maybe even start over. Start over? Meredith set down her mixing bowl with a sharp clink. Honey, you're 34 years old. You had your chance. You married Jerome and you ruined it. You drove that poor man away with your constant neediness, your depression, your... He cheated on me, Mum, multiple times, because you weren't giving him what he needed at home. The words hit like a slap. Riley kept scrolling through her phone, completely unbothered by the conversation happening around her. Besides, Meredith continued, what kind of fresh start were you really going to have? You think some man is going to want damaged goods? You think you're going to find love again? She laughed, actually laughed. Sweetheart, let's be honest here. You don't deserve love, not after the way you handled your marriage. And Riley does. Riley is beautiful. Riley is successful. Riley knows how to make a man happy. Meredith gestured toward my sister like she was presenting a prize. Look at her engagement ring. Look at how radiant she is. That's what love looks like. Riley held up her hand, admiring the 2-carat diamond. David proposed on the beach in Malibu. It was like something out of a movie. "Who's David?" I asked. Riley and Meredith exchanged a look. "Her fiancé, obviously," Meredith said. "I thought his name was Michael." Another look. "It is Michael," Riley said quickly. That's just what I call him sometimes. Pet name." Something cold settled in my stomach. "Where is he? Your fiancé?" "He's busy with work. Big client meeting today." Riley's voice was getting higher, the way it always did when she lied. "Actually, Jerome is helping me with some of the wedding planning. You know how good he is with logistics." Jerome, my ex-husband, helping plan my sister's wedding, with my money. "How long has Jerome been helping you?" "Just recently," Riley said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. "He offered after he heard about the engagement. He's really good at vendor negotiations." Meredith nodded approvingly. "It's so nice that you two can be mature about everything. Jerome always was such a good man." The timer went off. Meredith pulled her scones from the oven, humming softly like we were having a perfectly normal family conversation. "I remember when you were little," she said, arranging the scones on a cooling rack. "You used to throw these terrible tantrums when Riley got something you wanted. Toys, clothes, attention. You'd scream and cry until your father gave in just to shut you up. Mum. But Riley never did that. Riley was always grateful for what she had, always appreciative." She smiled at my sister. "That's why good things happen to people like Riley. The universe rewards gratitude." I looked at them both, my mother with her flower-dusted apron and satisfied smile, my sister with her diamond ring and designer clothes bought with my stolen money, and felt something crystallize inside me. "You're right," I said quietly. "Riley does deserve the best." They both looked surprised by my sudden agreement. "I'm going to make sure she gets exactly what she deserves." I walked out of that kitchen, past the family photos that had erased me, through the front door of the house where I'd learned that love was conditional and I'd never met the conditions. My phone rang as I reached my car. "Lisa, how did it go?" "They took my money," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Now I'm going to take their moment." "What do you mean?" I started the engine, looking back at the perfect house with its perfect lawn and its perfectly rotten occupants. "I mean, it's time for Riley to have the wedding of her dreams." The coffee shop on 5th Street buzzed with the usual morning crowd, but I'd chosen the corner table for privacy. Eliana arrived exactly on time. She always did. 45 years old, silver-streaked hair pulled back in a sleek bun, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my rent. "You sounded urgent on the phone," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Everything okay?" For the past year, I'd been the anonymous co-founder of Rise Her, Eliana's women's empowerment platform. What started as freelance marketing work had evolved into something bigger. I was the voice behind our most viral content, the strategist behind our growth from 10,000 to 2 million followers. But Eliana didn't know about Jerome, about the divorce, about my family stealing my settlement. "I have a proposition," I said. "Remember that televised wedding project you've been planning?" Her eyes lit up. The empowerment finale. One bride walking herself down the aisle, showing women they don't need anyone else's validation to claim their happiness. "I want to be that bride." Eliana nearly choked on her latte. "You? But you just got divorced, and you've never mentioned dating anyone." "I am dating someone. Finn. We've been together 6 months. That part was true. Finn was patient, kind, everything Jerome wasn't. "And I want our wedding to be the statement piece for Risa." Tessa, this would be huge. National television, celebrity guests, major sponsors. Are you sure you're ready for that level of exposure? I pulled out my phone, showing her Riley's Instagram. "My sister is getting married the same weekend you planned the televised event. Look at this." Eliana scrolled through the posts. Riley in wedding dress fittings. Riley taste testing cakes. Riley showing off venue decorations with the caption, "Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy the perfect wedding." Let blessed time dreams come true. "She's using my divorce settlement to fund it," I said quietly. Eliana looked up sharply. "What?" "My mother stole my settlement money, gave it to Riley for her wedding. $150,000. That's theft. Family theft, harder to prosecute." I took a sip of my coffee, keeping my voice steady. "But here's the thing. Riley's wedding is November 15th. Your televised event was scheduled for November 15th. Understanding dawned in Eliana's eyes. "You want to upstage your sister's wedding." "I want to show the world what empowerment really looks like. A woman who lost everything, building herself back up, claiming her joy on her own terms." I leaned forward. "Think about the story, Eliana, the narrative power. A bride who walks herself down the aisle because she learned she's the only person she can truly count on." Eliana was quiet for a long moment, her business mind clearly working. "The publicity would be incredible. The message is perfect for our brand." "I've already scouted venues. There's a clifftop location in Mendocino overlooking the ocean." "Intimate, elegant, everything Riley's gaudy ballroom isn't." "You've thought this through." "I've had time to think." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through her calendar. "The production team is already booked for November 15th. We have celebrity speakers lined up, major media coverage confirmed." She looked up at me. "But Tessa, this isn't just about revenge, is it? You genuinely want to marry Finn." "I love him. He knows about my family, about Jerome, about everything. He supports this completely." That was also true. Finn had held me while I cried about the stolen money, had helped me research legal options, had been the one to suggest I channel my anger into something positive. "What about your family? Won't they be upset about the timing?" I smiled for the first time all week. "I'm sure they'll find a way to watch both events." Eliana laughed despite herself. "You're diabolical. I respect that." She extended her hand across the table. "Let's do it." "But I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to walk you down the aisle. If this is about women supporting women, about chosen family over blood family, then let me be your family that day." Something tight in my chest loosened. "You'd do that?" "Honey, I've been in business for 20 years. I've seen women tear each other down more times than I can count. But I've also seen them lift each other up in ways that change everything." She squeezed my hand. "Let me lift you up." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Now," Eliana said, pulling out her tablet, "let's talk logistics. We'll need to move fast. Venue, catering, flowers, dress, media coordination." "I've already put a deposit on the venue." She raised an eyebrow. "When?" "Yesterday, right after I left my mother's house." "And Finn's okay with the timeline?" "He said he'd marry me tomorrow if I wanted. The only thing that matters to him is that I'm happy." Eliana smiled. "I like him already." She started typing notes. "Okay, here's what we're going to do. Small guest list, maybe 50 people max. Intimate ceremony, but with full media coverage. We'll live stream it, get our celebrity ambassadors involved, make it the most watched empowerment event of the year." "What about Riley's wedding?" "What about it?" Eliana's smile turned sharp. "I'm sure it'll be lovely, but ours will be legendary." My phone buzzed. A text from Riley. "Mum wants to know if you're coming to the final dress fitting tomorrow. Family bonding time." I showed the message to Eliana. "Are you going?" "Oh yes," I said, typing back a cheerful response. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." Eliana gathered her things, standing to leave. "Tessa?" "Yeah?" "Your sister has no idea what's coming, does she?" I thought about Riley scrolling through her phone while my mother explained why I didn't deserve love, about Jerome helping plan a wedding funded by my stolen money, About a lifetime of being invisible while my sister sparkled. None whatsoever. The bridal boutique smelled like expensive perfume and desperation. Riley stood on the platform in front of 3 mirrors, wearing a dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. The beading caught the light with every movement, creating tiny rainbows across the white walls. "It's perfect," Meredith gushed, circling Riley like a predator admiring its prey. "Absolutely perfect. You look like a princess." "I feel like one too," Riley said, smoothing the silk. "The train is exactly what I wanted." Long enough to make a statement. I sat in the corner chair, sipping champagne I didn't want, playing the role of supportive sister. My phone was recording everything, tucked discreetly in my purse with the camera lens barely visible. "Tessa, what do you think?" Riley asked, striking a pose. "Be honest." "You look beautiful," I said, and meant it. Riley had always been beautiful. That was never the problem. "The alterations will be ready by next Friday," the seamstress said, pinning the hem. "Just in time for your big day." "Speaking of which," Meredith said, settling into the chair beside me, "we need to talk about the final payments. The caterer wants another 10,000 by Monday, and the florist is asking for 15. "That's fine," Riley said, admiring herself in the mirror. "Just transfer it from the account." "What account?" I asked casually. Meredith and Riley exchanged a look in the mirror. "The wedding account," Meredith said carefully. "We set up a special account for all the wedding expenses." "With my money." "With the family money," Meredith corrected. "Money that's being put to good use instead of being wasted on whatever it was you were planning to waste it on." The seamstress looked uncomfortable, pretending to focus intensely on her pins. "Mum," Riley said quietly, "maybe we shouldn't—" "Shouldn't what? Tell the truth?" Meredith's voice rose slightly. "Tessa, you act like we stole from you, but let's be realistic. You got that money because your marriage failed, because you couldn't keep your husband happy. At least this way, something good comes from your failure." I kept my expression neutral, but my phone kept recording. "Besides," Meredith continued, warming to her theme, "it's not like the money was legally yours anyway. Technically, I'm still listed as your emergency contact at the bank, from when you were going through all that unpleasantness with Jerome. The wire transfer was completely legitimate." There it was, the confession I needed. "You used my emergency contact information to steal my settlement?" "I used my access to help my daughter. There's a difference." Meredith stood up, smoothing her skirt. "And frankly, I'm tired of your attitude about this. Riley is getting married. This is supposed to be a happy time. Stop trying to ruin it with your jealousy." "I'm not jealous," I said quietly. "Of course you are. You've always been jealous of Riley, ever since you were children." Meredith walked over to the platform, adjusting Riley's veil. "Remember when Riley got the lead in the school play? Tessa threw such a fit that your father had to take her home early. I was 8 years old, Mom. Age doesn't excuse bad behaviour, and look how it turned out. Riley went on to star in 3 more productions that year. Success breeds success." Riley shifted uncomfortably on the platform. "Mum, maybe we should focus on the dress." "No, this needs to be said." Meredith turned back to me. "You've spent your whole life expecting things to be handed to you, Tessa, but that's not how the world works. People like Riley earn their happiness. They work for it. They deserve it. And people like me don't. People like you make choices, bad choices. You chose Jerome, even though I warned you he was too good for you. You chose to stay in that marriage when it was clearly failing. You chose to be bitter instead of grateful." She gestured around the boutique. "Look where your choices got you, divorced, alone, living in that sad little apartment." The seamstress cleared her throat. "Perhaps I should give you ladies some privacy." "That's not necessary," I said, standing up. I was just leaving anyway. I walked over to Riley, still standing on the platform in her princess dress. You really do look beautiful, I said, kissing her cheek. I hope your wedding day is everything you've dreamed of. Tessa, I mean it. I hope it's absolutely unforgettable. I headed for the door, then paused, turning back to Meredith. Mum, just out of curiosity, when you transferred my money, did you use your own bank login or mine? What kind of question is that? A legal one. Because using someone else's banking information without permission, even with emergency access, can be considered wire fraud if the amounts are large enough. Meredith's face went pale. You wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Pursue legal action against my own mother? I smiled sweetly. You're right, I probably wouldn't. Family is family after all. I left them there, Riley frozen on her platform, Meredith clutching her pearls, the seamstress pretending she hadn't heard any of it. In my car, I stopped the recording and immediately sent it to Lisa with a text. Evidence secured, phase 1 complete. She texted back immediately. Holy shit, your mum actually admitted to wire fraud on tape. She admitted to a lot more than that. My phone rang. Lisa. Are you okay? That was brutal to listen to. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. I started the engine. I have therapy in an hour, then my self-defense class. Self-defense? Something I started after the divorce. Turns out learning to fight back is incredibly therapeutic. Tessa, what are you planning? I thought about Riley in her perfect dress, about Meredith's satisfied smile, about Jerome somewhere in the background pulling strings. I'm planning to give them exactly what they deserve. Which is? The wedding of the century, one they'll never ever forget. I hung up and drove toward my therapist's office, the recording safely backed up to 3 different cloud accounts. Tomorrow I'd file the legal paperwork, but tonight I had a wedding to plan, my own. The courthouse steps were cold under my feet as I walked out with the legal papers tucked under my arm. The injunction was official. All payments from the stolen settlement account were frozen pending investigation. I had 48 hours before Riley's wedding and the clock was ticking. My phone buzzed. Finn. How did it go? The judge signed off on everything. The account is locked. And you're sure about this? Once we do this, there's no going back. I looked up at the grey November sky, thinking about Riley's dress, Meredith's smug smile, Jerome's helping hands. I've never been more sure of anything. Then let's get married. The Mendocino venue was everything I'd dreamed of. Clifftop views, ocean breeze, intimate garden setting. Eliana arrived with her production crew at noon, transforming the space into something magical. White roses everywhere, fairy lights strung between the trees, a simple archway overlooking the Pacific. The live stream setup is ready, she said, adjusting her earpiece. We're expecting over 1 million viewers. The celebrity speakers land in 2 hours. Any word from the other wedding? Lisa appeared at my elbow, grinning wickedly. Oh, you're going to love this. I've been monitoring their vendor group chat all morning. She showed me her phone. Screenshots of increasingly frantic messages. Florist, payment declined, needs certified check by 3 p.m. or no flowers. Caterer, account frozen, cannot proceed without cash payment. Venue coordinator, legal notice received, deposit in dispute. Please contact immediately. And the best part, Lisa continued, scrolling down, Jerome just got fired. I looked up sharply. What? Anonymous tip to his company about workplace harassment. Apparently someone sent them detailed documentation of his behaviour patterns, including recorded conversations with former colleagues. Lisa's smile was pure evil. Funny how these things work out. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Tessa, it's Riley. Her voice was shaky, higher than usual. We need to talk. I'm kind of busy today, Riley. It's my wedding day. Silence on the other end. Your what? My wedding. To Finn. Remember Finn? The man who actually loves me? Tessa, this isn't funny. The vendors are all asking for cash payments. The venue is threatening to cancel. Mum is having a panic attack. That sounds stressful. Don't play games with me. Did you do something to the account? I walked to the edge of the cliff, looking out at the ocean. The production crew was setting up cameras behind me, but I ignored them. I filed a legal injunction regarding the theft of my divorce settlement. The court agreed that the money was obtained illegally and froze the account pending investigation. You can't do this. My wedding is tomorrow. So is mine. Funny coincidence. Riley's voice cracked. Tessa, please, I'm begging you. This is my dream wedding. I've planned everything perfectly. With my money. It's just money, but this is my life, my happiness, my... Your what? Your chance to be the centre of attention? Your opportunity to prove you're the favourite daughter? Your moment to show everyone how much more you deserve than me? The line went quiet except for Riley's ragged breathing. I never said that. You didn't have to. Mum said it for you, multiple times. In fact, she said it so clearly that I have it recorded. You recorded us? I recorded a confession of wire fraud, actually. Very helpful for legal proceedings. Another silence. What do you want? Riley's voice was barely a whisper. I want you to have exactly the wedding you deserve. The one you planned with stolen money, enabled by a mother who thinks I'm worthless, assisted by my abusive ex-husband. I paused, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. I want you to experience what it feels like when everything falls apart and there's no one there to catch you. Tessa? I hung up. Eliana appeared beside me. Everything okay? Perfect. How's the setup going? Beautifully. The celebrity guests are arriving now. Sadie just got here. She's so excited to speak at your ceremony. Sadie was one of the women I'd mentored through Rise Her, helping her escape an abusive marriage and rebuild her life. She'd insisted on flying in from Chicago to be part of the ceremony. And the media coverage. Beyond our wildest dreams, 3 major networks, dozens of online platforms, international interest. This is going to be the most watched empowerment event in Rise Her history. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. This is Jerome. We need to talk. I showed it to Lisa. Want me to handle it? No, I've got this. I called the number. Tessa, thank God. Listen, I know things ended badly between us, but Riley is family now. You can't destroy her wedding over our issues. Family? I laughed. Jerome, you cheated on me with my sister while we were married. You helped my mother steal my settlement money. You're helping plan a wedding funded by theft. What part of that sounds like family to you? I never cheated with Riley. We were just friends. Save it. I really don't care anymore. Then why are you doing this? I looked around at my wedding venue, elegant, intimate, real, everything Riley's gaudy spectacle wasn't. Because you all taught me something important. You taught me that the only person I can count on is myself. So today I'm marrying the man I love, surrounded by people who actually care about me, celebrating the life I built after you tried to destroy me. And Riley's wedding? What about it? You're ruining it. No, Jerome, I'm just not paying for it anymore. I hung up and turned off my phone. Eliana handed me a glass of champagne. Ready to get married? I looked at the sunset beginning to paint the sky pink and gold, at the cameras ready to broadcast my happiness to the world, at the life I'd built from the ashes of everything they'd tried to take from me. I've been ready for months. In 3 hours, Riley's dream wedding would crumble. In 2 hours, mine would begin. The makeup artist put the finishing touches on my eyes as my phone lit up with notifications I was ignoring. Through the bridal suite window, I could see guests arriving. Finn's family, my college friends, colleagues from Rise Her, women I'd mentored through the platform. Real people who actually cared about me. You look absolutely radiant, the artist said, stepping back. Are you ready to see? I turned toward the mirror and barely recognized myself. The dress was simple but elegant, off-the-shoulder silk that flowed like water, nothing like Riley's beaded monstrosity. My hair was swept up with small white flowers tucked behind one ear. I looked like myself, but the best version I'd ever been. "It's perfect," I whispered. Lisa burst through the door, phone in hand, grinning like a maniac. "You need to see this. Riley just posted on Instagram." She showed me the screen. A photo of Riley in her wedding dress, but she was crying. The caption read, "When everything falls apart on your wedding day, but you still believe in love. Wedding disaster. Still fighting, Psalm, pray for us." "The comments are brutal," Lisa said, scrolling down. "People are asking what happened. Someone leaked that the vendors all bailed. Another person said they heard the groom is missing." Missing? Apparently Michael, hasn't been seen since this morning. Word is he got fired yesterday and had some kind of breakdown. A knock on the door interrupted us. Eliana peeked in, wearing a stunning navy dress. "It's time." The cameras are rolling, the live stream has over 2 million viewers, and your groom is waiting at the altar, looking like the luckiest man alive. I stood up, smoothing my dress. "I'm ready." "Wait." Eliana pulled out her phone. "You might want to see this first. It's trending on social media." She showed me a split screen someone had created. On the left, Riley's crying Instagram post from her empty ballroom, and on the right, a preview shot of my cliff-top ceremony with the caption, "Two sisters, 2 weddings, same day. One paid for with stolen money, one paid for with self-respect. Guess which one is actually happening? How did people find out about Riley using your money?" Lisa raised her hand sheepishly. I may have shared some information with a few gossip accounts, anonymously, of course. The 3 of us walked toward the ceremony space. The sun was setting over the Pacific, painting everything golden. 50 guests stood as the music began. Not the traditional wedding march, but Stronger by Kelly Clarkson. My choice. Finn stood at the altar in a simple black suit, his face lighting up when he saw me. Beside him, the officiant waited with a warm smile. The celebrity speakers from Riser sat in the front row, along with Sadie, who was wiping away tears. Eliana took my arm. "Ready to walk into your new life?" "I've been walking toward it for months." We started down the aisle. The cameras captured every step, broadcasting live to millions of viewers. I could see the comments streaming on the production monitors. "She's glowing." "This is what empowerment looks like." "Queen energy." Halfway down the aisle, my phone buzzed in my bouquet. I almost ignored it, but something made me glance at the screen. A text from Meredith. "Please stop this. Riley is having a breakdown. The wedding is ruined. People are laughing at us. Please, I'm begging you." I showed the message to Eliana without breaking stride. "Want to respond?" "No need. She'll figure it out soon enough." We reached the altar. Eliana kissed my cheek and whispered, "You did it. You're free." Finn took my hands, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." The officiant began the ceremony. "We're gathered here today to celebrate not just the union of Tessa and Finn, but the power of a woman who refused to let others define her worth." Behind the cameras, I could see the production team monitoring social media. One of them held up a tablet showing the viewer count, 3.2 million and climbing. "Before we begin the vows," the officiant continued, "Sadie would like to say a few words about the bride." Sadie stood up, her voice carrying clearly over the ocean breeze. 6 months ago, I was trapped in an abusive marriage, convinced I was worthless, that I deserved nothing better. Then I found Riser, and more specifically, I found Tessa." The camera zoomed in on her face. "Tessa taught me that we don't have to accept the stories other people write about us. She showed me that sometimes the people who are supposed to love us the most are the ones who damage us the worst, and she proved that we can rewrite our own endings. Sadie looked directly at me. Today, watching you walk down this aisle, surrounded by people who truly love you, marrying a man who sees your worth, this isn't just your wedding. This is hope for every woman who's been told she's not enough. The applause was thunderous, both from the guests and, I imagined, from the millions watching online. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Riley calling. I declined the call and handed my phone to Lisa. No more interruptions, I said. This moment is mine. Finn squeezed my hands. Ready to become my wife? I'm ready to become myself. The officiant smiled. Then let's begin with the vows. Tessa, would you like to go first? I looked out at the ocean, at the cameras broadcasting my joy to the world, at the people who had chosen to celebrate with me. Somewhere, in a ballroom across the state, my sister was probably still crying in her expensive dress, surrounded by empty tables and broken dreams. But here, on this cliff, in this moment, I was exactly where I belonged. I do, I said, and meant it more than I'd ever meant anything in my life. The hotel bar was dimly lit, filled with the scattered remains of what should have been Riley's wedding reception. Guests huddled in small groups, some still in their formal wear, others having changed into casual clothes. The atmosphere was thick with confusion and whispered gossip. Riley sat at a corner table, still in her wedding dress but with mascara streaked down her cheeks. Meredith paced nearby, phone pressed to her ear, her voice getting shriller with each call. I don't care what the contract says, Meredith snapped into the phone. We had a deal. You can't just cancel everything because of some legal paperwork. Jerome slumped at the bar, tie loosened, looking like he'd aged 10 years in one day. He nursed a whiskey while scrolling through his phone, probably looking at job listings. This is a disaster, Riley whispered to her maid of honour. Everyone's posting about it. The hashtag #weddingfail is trending, and half the comments are about Tessa. What about Tessa? Her friend asked. She got married today too, same day, and apparently it's all over social media. The bartender reached for the remote, turning up the volume on the large-screen TV mounted above the bar. Sorry folks, someone requested we put on the live stream, big wedding happening up the coast. The screen flickered to life, showing my clifftop ceremony in full HD. The sunset backdrop, the elegant flowers, the intimate gathering of people who actually wanted to be there. Riley's gasp was audible across the bar. Is that? Someone whispered. Oh my God, another guest said. That's Tessa, Riley's sister. The camera zoomed in on me as I stood at the altar, radiant in my simple dress, holding Finn's hands. The happiness on my face was unmistakable, genuine in a way that Riley's forced smiles had never been. Turn it off, Riley said, her voice cracking. But no one moved. The entire bar was transfixed, watching as the officiant spoke about empowerment and self-worth. The viewer count in the corner showed 4.1 million people watching. Meredith ended her call and stared at the screen, her face going pale. That's our money, she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. That dress, that venue, those flowers, that's all paid for with Riley's wedding money. Actually, Jerome said from the bar, not turning around, it's paid for with Tessa's divorce settlement, the money you stole. We didn't steal anything, Meredith snapped. I had legal access to that account. Wire fraud is still wire fraud, even if you have the password. On screen, Sadie was giving her speech about finding strength through Rise Her, about learning to rewrite your own story. The camera panned across the audience. Successful women, supportive friends, chosen family. She planned this, Riley said, her voice hollow. She knew our vendors would cancel. She knew Jerome would... She looked at him accusingly. Where were you this morning? You were supposed to help me get ready. Jerome finally turned around. I got fired yesterday, Riley. Anonymous tip about workplace harassment. Funny thing is, the evidence they provided was incredibly detailed. almost like someone had been documenting everything for months. The pieces clicked together for Riley. She destroyed your career too. She didn't destroy anything, she just stopped covering for me. On the TV, I was speaking my vows. The audio was crystal clear, my voice steady and strong. For too long, I believed that love meant accepting less than I deserved. I thought family meant loyalty, even when that loyalty wasn't returned. I thought marriage meant losing myself to make someone else comfortable. The bar had gone completely silent, everyone watching. But you taught me that real love sees my worth, celebrates my strength, and wants me to shine brighter, not dimmer. You showed me that I don't need anyone's permission to claim my happiness. Riley started crying harder. She's talking about us, about our family. You chose Jerome over me, I continued on screen, looking directly into the camera. You chose your image over my well-being. You chose your comfort over my truth. And in doing so, you taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, that I am the only person responsible for my own happiness. Meredith sank into a chair. Everyone's watching this. Everyone's going to know. Know what? Jerome asked. That you stole your daughter's divorce settlement? That you enabled an abusive marriage? That you spent 34 years convincing Tessa she wasn't worth loving? I never said that. You said it yesterday, in the bridal shop. Tessa recorded the whole thing. The colour drained from Meredith's face. On screen, the ceremony was reaching its climax. Finn was sliding a ring onto my finger, tears streaming down his face. The sunset behind us was spectacular, the ocean waves providing a natural soundtrack. By the power vested in me, the officiant announced, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Tessa, you may kiss your groom. The kiss was soft, genuine, full of promise. The guests erupted in applause. The camera pulled back to show the full scene, the clifftop setting, the celebrating crowd, the pure joy on everyone's faces. Then the screen split. On one side, my wedding celebration continued. On the other, a news ticker appeared. Rise, her wedding breaks livestream records. 5.2 million viewers and climbing. Riley's phone started buzzing with notifications. She looked at the screen and her face crumpled. What is it? Meredith demanded. Someone posted a video, Riley whispered. It's Mom in the bridal shop saying Tessa doesn't deserve love. It has 2 million views already. The bar erupted in murmurs. Guests started pulling out their phones, searching for the video, sharing it with others. The caption says, "This is why some people choose their own family," Riley continued reading, and all the comments are supporting Tessa. On the TV screen, I was walking back down the aisle as a married woman, Eliana and Finn on either side of me, my face glowing with happiness. The camera caught me looking directly into the lens for just a moment, and I smiled, not smug, not vindictive, just genuinely, radiantly happy. She won, Riley said quietly. She actually won. Jerome raised his glass in a mock toast. To Tessa, the only one of us who figured out how to write her own ending. The screen faded to black, but the damage was done. In hotel bars and living rooms across the country, millions of people had just watched me claim my happiness while Riley's crumbled in real time. And for the first time in my life, I was the sister everyone was talking about for all the right reasons. The morning after my wedding, I sat in our hotel suite overlooking the Pacific, still in my silk pyjamas, scrolling through my phone while Finn made coffee. The notifications hadn't stopped. Messages, emails, interview requests, brand partnership offers. My wedding had broken the internet, but more importantly, it had broken the chains that had held me down for 34 years. Look at this, I said, showing Finn my screen. Rise, her gained 500,000 new followers overnight. Eliana says we've had more empowerment story submissions in 12 hours than we usually get in a month. And how do you feel about that? I considered the question. Proud, like maybe something good came from all the pain. My phone rang. Lisa. Please tell me you've seen the news, she said without preamble. What news? Turn on Channel 7, now. Finn grabbed the remote and flipped to the local news station. A reporter stood outside the courthouse, microphone in hand. Federal investigation into wire fraud charges. Meredith Willis was arrested early this morning after evidence surfaced of illegal financial transfers totaling over $150,000. The screen showed footage of my mother in handcuffs being led to a police car. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without her usual armour of righteous indignation. The victim, who wishes to remain anonymous, provided recorded evidence of the defendant admitting to using emergency banking access to transfer funds without permission. If convicted, Willis faces up to 20 years in federal prison. Finn muted the TV. Are you okay? I stared at the screen, watching them replay the footage of Meredith's arrest. I didn't think they'd actually prosecute her. You gave them a recorded confession of wire fraud. What did you think would happen? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Riley. Please call me. I showed it to Finn. Do you want to talk to her? Not particularly. But I'm curious what she has to say. I called the number. Tessa, thank God. Riley's voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying for hours. Mum's been arrested. They're saying she could go to prison. I heard. You have to drop the charges. Please, she's our mother. She's your mother. She stopped being mine the day she told me I didn't deserve love. She didn't mean it. She was just stressed about the wedding. Riley, stop. Just stop. I walked to the window, looking out at the ocean where I'd gotten married 12 hours ago. She meant every word. You know she did. And so did you when you sat there and let her say it. Silence on the other end. What do you want me to do? Riley finally asked, her voice small. I want you to grow up. I want you to take responsibility for your choices. I want you to stop expecting other people to fix your problems. But what about Mum? What about her? She committed a felony. She stole my money to fund your fantasy wedding, and when it all fell apart, she blamed everyone but herself. Those are consequences, Riley, something you've never had to face before. And Jerome? What about Jerome? He's broke, unemployed. He's been staying on my couch, but I can't. We're not even together. We were never together. The whole engagement was fake. That stopped me cold. What do you mean, fake? There is no Michael. There never was. Jerome suggested the fake engagement after his divorce was finalized. He said it would help him get over you, and I thought it would make me look desirable. We were going to call it off after the wedding, but then Mum offered to pay for everything with your money, and it seemed easier to just go through with it. I sat down hard on the bed. You faked an engagement to make yourself look good? And to hurt you. I'm not going to lie about that. I was jealous that you got such a big settlement, and I wanted to prove that I could have what you couldn't. A fake marriage funded by stolen money? Yes. The honesty was jarring. Riley had never been honest about anything in her life. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm tired, Tessa. I'm tired of pretending, tired of competing, tired of being Mum's perfect daughter. Do you know what she said to me yesterday when the vendors started cancelling? She said it was my fault for not being grateful enough, that the universe was punishing me for taking you for granted. I almost laughed. And what did you say? I said she was right. For the first time in my life, I told Mum she was wrong about something, and it felt... She paused. It felt like breathing. My phone beeped with another call. Eliana. Riley, I have to go. Wait. Tessa, I know you'll probably never forgive me, and I don't blame you. But I need you to know. Watching you walk down that aisle yesterday, seeing how happy you looked, how free you looked, I've never been that happy, not once in my entire life. That's not my fault. I know, it's mine, and Mum's, and maybe Jerome's, but mostly mine. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, for all of it. I'm sorry I wasn't the sister you deserved. The line went quiet. Riley? Yeah, get some therapy, real therapy, and stay away from Jerome. He's toxic for everyone he touches. I will. And Tessa, congratulations on your wedding. You looked beautiful. I hung up and answered Eliana's call. How's married life? She asked. Complicated, but good. Good, because I have news. 3 major networks want to interview you. 2 publishers are interested in your story. And we've been approached about turning Rise Her into a documentary series. I looked at Finn, who was listening with raised eyebrows. What do you think? I asked him. I think you've spent your whole life being invisible. Maybe it's time to be seen. I walked back to the window, looking out at the endless ocean. Somewhere out there, my mother was sitting in a jail cell. My sister was facing the wreckage of her fake life. My ex-husband was unemployed and homeless. And I was married to a man who loved me, running a company that helped women find their strength, with a story that was inspiring millions of people to rewrite their own endings. Eliana, set up the interviews, all of them. Really? Really, but I have one condition. What's that? I smiled, thinking about that little girl who used to throw tantrums when Riley got something she wanted, who grew up believing she wasn't worth loving, who spent 5 years married to a man who made her feel invisible. I want to dedicate everything to the women who are still walking on eggshells, still accepting less than they deserve, still believing other people's stories about who they are. Done. What's the message you want to send them? I looked at my reflection in the window, hair messy from sleep, no makeup, wearing pyjamas that cost less than Riley's fake engagement ring. But I was glowing with something I'd never had before, the absolute certainty of my own worth. They planned my ending. So I rewrote it, and this time the bride walked herself home. Finn came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Ready for the rest of our lives? I leaned back against him, watching the sun rise over the water where I'd claimed my happiness in front of 5 million witnesses. I've been ready for years, I just didn't know it yet. My phone buzzed with another notification, another interview request, another opportunity to tell my story. But I turned it face down and focused on the view, on my husband's arms around me, on the life I'd built from the ashes of everything they'd tried to take from me. Some stories end with forgiveness, some end with reconciliation. This one ended with me, finally, choosing myself. And that was the most beautiful ending of all.